In this video, we are going to discuss the pastor's unique ability to opt out of the Social Security and Medicare programs. This decision comes with serious long-term consequences because it is generally irreversible. Let's talk about what opting out means and the factors you should consider before making this choice. Before we get into the process, though, I want to remind you that pastors have a dual tax status. They are considered employees for federal income tax purposes and most other taxes, but they are considered self-employed for Social Security and Medicare tax purposes. That means pastors are responsible for paying the 15.3% tax on their earnings each year. Because of the way the IRS calculates the self-employment taxes, the actual amount due will end up being slightly less than 15.3%. But to keep it simple, I'll use that rate when discussing those taxes. Now, let's get into the topic. Pastors are one of the few groups who can be exempt from Social Security and Medicare taxes. But to opt out of Social Security and Medicare, you must have a religious objection to receiving public insurance benefits for services performed as a minister. On the right side of the screen, you can read the long statement that you would have to accept and sign in order to opt out. You cannot opt out for economic purposes, that is, to avoid the 15.3% tax. While the economic factors should not be the primary focus, anyone who is considering opting out does need to prepare for the financial realities of that decision. It is also worth noting that even if you have a religious objection to the program, it doesn't mean you have to opt out. Now, you might be wondering what happens if you opt out of these programs. In short, you no longer pay the self-employment taxes on your earnings, but you will also have limited or no Social Security and Medicare benefits upon retirement. Thus, you must carefully plan for your retirement years. There is an important distinction I want to make here. While opting out will exempt you from these taxes on your pastoral wages, you may still be eligible for some Social Security or Medicare benefits based on your contributions to the programs at other times. Perhaps you contributed before you were licensed, commissioned, or ordained. Generally, though, the benefits would be much lower than if you contribute through your highest earning years, which are usually later in life. Similarly, the exemption does not apply to secular work like owning a business, working bivocationally, or later accepting a non-ministerial role at a church or in the marketplace. This distinction is also important because it affects the level of religious objection required to opt out. Your objection only needs to be for participating with what you earn as a pastor from a church. You don't need to object to the whole system to qualify for the exemption. Now, economically, if you decide to opt out, you should prepare yourself for the road ahead. You should consider what you'll need for retirement, how you'll handle healthcare costs without Medicare, and if you'll have enough income to support yourself in retirement without Social Security. Furthermore, it is worth noting that you only have a limited time to opt out of Social Security and Medicare after being licensed, commissioned, or ordained. Your first paycheck with ministerial earnings starts the clock, and you have until the deadline, including extensions, of the second tax year to file your exemption with the IRS. For example, if you are ordained and paid in November of 2024, you would have until April 15th, 2026, or October 15th, 2026, if you file an extension, to file Form 4361 and opt out. During that time, you would file your 2024 tax return, but you can amend it to get a refund of all self-employment taxes you paid as a pastor during that period. Lastly, you should do your own research and seek wise counsel on this topic to determine if you truly object to these programs. You can research why these programs exist or what they support, but the question ultimately comes down to whether or not you believe it is acceptable to receive public insurance for your work as a pastor. So, what does the process look like to opt out? If you decide to opt out of Social Security and Medicare, the first step is to file Form 4361 with the IRS. This form is required to officially declare your objection, and there are a few important steps to follow to make sure it's done correctly. First, download Form 4361 from the IRS website and fill out the details. Be sure to sign the form, make a couple copies, Include the church bylaws and mail in the form. Second, wait for the IRS to send your form back asking if you understand that this decision is irreversible and confirming you still want to proceed. You'll need to send the form to them again, certifying your understanding. Lastly, wait for the IRS to send you the approved exemption. Once you have it, save a copy in your permanent files for safekeeping. If you paid self-employment taxes between your ordination and your exemption approval, don't forget to file an amendment to receive a tax refund. I cannot stress enough how important it is to plan for your own retirement and healthcare needs if you opt out of Social Security and Medicare. Too many pastors put themselves in a poor financial position for retirement by opting out and failing to plan sufficiently ahead. While you may desire to continue pastoring beyond the retirement years, poor health and other complications may arise that limit your ability to do so. Additionally, if you are not working with a financial advisor, I would recommend reaching out to one before you make this decision and ask for their help to visualize the financial impact of this decision.